Hey squad, what's going on? It's Rich Ryan here. Today, I'm going to give you my somewhat thought out instant reactions. So not really instant, but like soonish, so like newer reactions to the Hyrox World Championship qualifying system. We don't have all of the information, but it was just released over the weekend. So I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I foresee happening within the sport of Hyrox because of the new system. Here I have 3 pros that I love and 3 cons that I'm not particularly fond of. So before we get into it, make sure you hit me with a like and subscribe where you get all the training content around Hyrox and running, endurance, niche sports stuff, strength all blended in together. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new video into your feed. All right, so when we're looking at this, we need to really kind of zoom out and understand what we're trying to accomplish with this qualification system, or what Hyrox has in mind when they're looking to develop this sport even further. So to me, you can look at it from 3 ways. You can try to find the best stories around Hyrox and the athletes within it. You can try to find the one individual best Hyrox athlete, or you could try to assemble the best total field of athletes to compete for all the top spots at the Hyrox World Championships. I'm not exactly sure what Hyrox wants to accomplish when they're putting together this sport. But if it were me, what I would want to find is the best complete field so that we can have the top to bottom best stories all the way throughout in the absolute best race possible with the best athletes on earth. I'm going to be a bit biased toward this because I'm probably not going to be the number one, but I could fill into the mix there. So I want to make sure that the field all the way 1 to 15 is super strong. So I'm not exactly sure what their goal is here, but I just wanted to, it's just worth noting so that we can understand what my pros and cons are for this. Another thing that's worth noting, Hyrox does continue to listen to the athletes. They are progressive when it comes to trying to figure out how to make this system a little bit better year over year. They don't make dramatic changes. They make slight changes, which I can get frustrated with because I want to see it exactly the way that I would like it to see it. But the incremental changes are just better for the sport. They're better for the athletes. Big transitional changes can be a little bit jarring, can be a little bit unsettling, and really not give too much trust within the sport. So off the bat, I trust what this group is doing with these decisions, and they are trying to make it better. So with my first pro, the one that is hands down the best addition to this year is that it's not just one single time that is going to count toward your Elite 15 to get into these majors. It's a combination of your 2 best times that will factor into play when it comes to putting you in the ranks of the top athletes. The courses in Hyrox are just not equal. If you've done more than 2, you'll understand that sometimes there's more turns, sometimes there's more laps, sometimes the rock zone is funny, sometimes the sleds move really well, sometimes they don't. There are multiple factors in here that can swing these times by what seems to be minutes. So there's a 2 to 4 minute discrepancy between a favorable course and a standard, or what we call a slow course. So taking time in general has been a pain point of mine. So this is a good way to kind of curb that. Like if you get an outlier course, they need to see that you do it again on a different course. So that's a huge win in my book, that it's now going to be the consistency that's going to get you into the Elite 15, and not necessarily just a one-off where you pop the 4-minute PR and now you're stuck in this race or you get the opportunity to race against these savages. But when we've seen that happen, it doesn't necessarily go that well for the athlete who is in that position. So this is advantageous for the athletes who are consistent, and also for the athletes who are on the bubble there, so they can really understand where they are in the pecking order for these athletes. So that's an absolute smash hit pro for me. So my second pro here is the 365-day window in which a result that you had at a race counts toward your 2-race average. Years past, they allowed almost like a year and a half of time to pass for a time to still qualify you through, which was just way too long. And I can't say I didn't have an advantage from that. Like, it really played in for me. So I was thankful for that for a little bit, but it just doesn't really make sense. If we're trying to assemble the best field, we want to make sure that the athlete who is going to be in the field is ready to race, and to race well. Taking results past year, even a year is a bit long, honestly, in my opinion. It should probably be a little bit tighter, but it's definitely an improvement. So it's going to make people need to race well again. So if you had one of these outlier courses 16 months ago, it no longer counts toward your 2 times. So you have to do it relatively fresh, which I think is a huge improvement from the past year. The third pro that I took out of this announcement was the last chance qualifier. So the last chance qualifier is now in one place. This is a pro and a con. I like that that you know where you're going to stand and you have one shot to for all those who have not qualified to get there. But what I really like about having this last chance qualifier is now every time they need to fill a spot for world championships, what they're going to do is take it from the last chance qualifier. So last year, what they did is they took the athlete who had to withdraw from world championships. They went back to the race in which they qualified, and they basically removed them from that result, and then they just rolled things down even further. And this is all fine because everyone is in the race from different parts of the year. But again, if we're looking to have the most competitive field at the time of the competition, it's still too long of a window. And we want to make sure that the athletes who are going to be there are race ready, which is where the last chance qualifier kind of comes in. Now they're going to take any athlete who withdraws from world championships and fill it in from the last chance qualifying positions. So 3 people are guaranteed to qualify the last chance qualifier, but if 3 other people withdraw, it'll roll down to 5 or 4, 5, and 6, which is just another reason that you should really need to go to this race. And in the past, if you got into a major and you had a big roll down and everybody who competed at all the majors have already qualified, then what are we saying about the athletes who are going to be there, right? Like how ready can we assume that they're going to be at this race? So I think it's a huge win. It gives a lot of clarity. It makes it simple. I thought this is what they should have done last year, but didn't really seem like they had thought about it too much leading into this scenario. So now that that's taken care of, I think that's a huge win. All right, on to the cons that I find here. So many things have been improved upon, but we're still using time. That is a major con when it comes to this qualification system and when it comes to this sport in general, is using times on courses that are not standardized and are not consistent. Even though now it's going to be a little bit better where these 2 results are going to really kind of level the field a little bit, the results of the outlier courses still count. And it's not without reason that like someone will get 2 of these courses, especially in Europe where these races happen every weekend. So there's much more opportunities to get favorable courses. And if you get 2, you're set. So they really need to either eliminate time completely by having some sort of qualifying races to get into majors. So, for example, a race in New York, the top 5 athletes make it through. A race in LA, the top 5 athletes make it through. A race in Dallas, top 5 athletes make it through. That's 15. They all race the North American Championship. So everybody who's in there has had the opportunity to race each other to get themselves into those positions. So times don't matter because really what we're seeing is times shouldn't matter. Times are getting run way faster at races that are outside of the World Championships than at the World Championships by the world champions. And it doesn't always have to be the fastest time wins the world championship, but usually they should be pretty close. And we're seeing them not even be close in any of the years past. So that is just an example alone how times don't really matter here. So they're still factoring in times. It's still going to be frustrating. And there's absolutely going to be outlier courses that factor in and keep people out of majors who are probably a little bit more deserving than those who are just like finding good courses and haven't really had a great record in racing their way in through a good competitive field. So a major change that they've made is now they will roll down 3 spots at every single major. And previously, it was they only rolled down to the top 5 in each race. So they could take a maximum of 3 each race or a minimum of 1 to 2, depending on where you were in the season. So this year, they're going to take 3 from every single major no matter what. So the top 3 in Amsterdam will make it. And then positions 4, 5, 6 could potentially make it in Hong Kong. And then 7, 8, 9 could make it in Las Vegas. And then we're talking about the 10th, 11th, and 12th place finisher in a race. That's definitely within the realm of possibilities for this, because these races are the only way that athletes get paid out, and they're the best exposure. So there's incentive for these athletes to continue to show up. So are we really going to reward someone for finishing in 11th place, a world championship position? What is that saying about the field that they're going to assemble? That in a competitive field, the best that this person is going to do is 11th, right? Like, someone has finished 11th at world championships, but we're already seeing it. So why does this need to happen again? Why can't we prove that these athletes need to be able to race within the top 5 to get there? I think that was fine. That there needs to be some sort of proof that the athletes who are going to be in the world championships have the ability to race at a good level. So in this example, someone with 2 outlier times could just be in a major and then just show up and basically just finish the race, and they get a world championship qualifying position. Where there's going to be hungry athletes at the last chance qualifier who could wipe the floor with them, who are going to be on the outside because there's only going to be 3 positions left. I would much prefer there to be more positions available to athletes at the last chance qualifier than rewarding someone for finishing in 10th through 12th. I just don't see that as a good option for creating a good, deep field. So I don't love that. But what are you going to do? My third and final con isn't as much a reflection of the system as it is to the totality of it all. And the season is just too long. We're talking about a 9-month racing season that hinges on athletes being prepared to race and peak. And we're spanning it out way too long, from October to June. We're speculating June. If it's the same cadence as last year, it could be later. It could be a 10-month season. That's just too long. That's not athlete friendly, and it's just not favorable for the sport. Again, if you have athletes qualify in October and November for a race in June, there's no guarantee that in June they're going to be ready to race. I mentioned all these athletes who had dropped out prior to the race at the World Championships. We don't really see that for like the Olympics or the World Championships, because it's trials, then Olympics like 6 weeks later. These athletes are battle tested and ready to throw down when it comes time to. If you race in October, you could be a completely different athlete by the time June rolls around. So it's not good for the depth of field. It's not good for the athlete's season. It's going to be too much racing, too much preparation put around these key goal races for athletes to kind of chase and to really get their best performances. It's challenging to have 4 big races all across the year. So this is much more of a reflection of Hyrox being an event company and less of them being a sporting company, right? A sporting event, because it's just not athlete friendly. It's way too long, and it could very much dilute the field when it comes to at the end of the season. One last final pro that I did not cover that I do really like. I won't say I love it, but they made a statement saying that they're going to test athletes at every single major championship. Now, I don't love this, because if they were really serious about athletes not doping, they would not tell us when we were going to be tested. I would much rather say that athletes are going to be randomly tested throughout the season so that there is a little bit of unknown there, because one of the major things around catching people who are doping is basically catching them off guard. If they know when they're going to get tested, they're going to pass. That's just how it's been for forever. So being like, you're going to get tested in October, you're going to get tested in November. So if it would be plenty of time for people to get off of whatever they're on, so that then when they get into these races, they're clean when they're not. So I like it that they're taking it seriously, that they are going to test and test frequently, but don't tell us when it's coming, because you'll only catch the real idiots. You won't catch the smart cheaters. And that's really the problem in sports, is catching the smart cheaters, because they're going to continue to do it. They're going to figure out ways to get past this test. And mostly it's around when it's going to happen. And now they just know when it's going to be. So again, I like it. I don't love it. But for the most part, these changes have been extremely positive. It's another step in the right direction. I'm happy to see that they are continuing to be progressive here. And I will have nitpicks throughout the season, of course, but overall, rock solid. So thank you, Hyrox, for providing us an awesome sport to continue to go after and continuing to invest in that and showing that you do care what the athletes say and keep making these positive changes, even if they're slow. You guys are on to, for me, you guys are on the right track. So appreciate everything. And thank you for listening. Hit that subscribe if you want all the training and other type of info coming your direction. And I'll talk to you soon.